Has Dak improved since the last time we faced him? And can his O-line really kind of protect him? Because I know they have some injuries along that O-line, but he still has a center. It seemed like they were getting banged up in this last game. Do you think they're going to be ready with I guess it's kind of a short week.
Oh man, that's such a good question. I haven't even thought about comparing Dak improving until you asked this question, right? I have a hard time saying that somebody improved when their turnover rate jumped as significantly as Dak Prescott's did. I have a hard time buying in, and this isn't my fault. I'm not questioning Dak Prescott at all. I just have a hard time buying into a quarterback who threw 15 interceptions in 12 games. And that's my concern because, yeah, he played less games. His touchdown percentage was a little lower, but his interception percentage doubled from last season. And that's a big concern for me against this Niners defense because, yeah, the secondary, it's not at its best from what we've seen it earlier this season. But the one thing that hasn't changed is its ability to force turnovers. So to me, this is like dare I say, a baby Bills matchup if we're thinking that far forward, if the Bills even make it there. But it's a high power offense that threatens the Niners secondary, but so many interceptions that I'm very curious to see which one breaks first. Is it the Niners secondary breaking against CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup, or is it Dak breaking and throwing 2-3 interceptions? Because he's had 5 games with 2 interceptions this season. Only 3 with 0, and that includes last night. So he has more 2 interceptions. That's not even counting the 1 interception games. He has more 2 interception games than he does 0 interception games, and I don't think that's great, particularly. To me, 1 interception's cool. Like that's fine. Like it happens. You know, we've seen dumb interceptions. I mean, like maybe not the Geno Smith interception against the Niners, but we see interceptions happen. They happen. When you get to 2-3, that's where it's a concern, and Dak has done that. In terms of the offensive line against the Niners defensive line, your guess is as good as mine because I know how good the Niners defensive line is. I know the Cowboys offensive line has had injuries, but they don't give up a ton of sacks. They don't. They've actually had the 5th lowest sack percentage allowed in the league. The Niners have the 15th best sack percentage in the league. And that doesn't sound right. The Niners get a ton of sacks, right? They're not the best at getting sacks. I think what they're really good at is getting pressures. And it's a little different. I personally value pressures a little more than sacks in today's era because I think sacks are cool. You lose yardage, maybe you get a fumble. Pressures are what create turnovers, and that's what the Niners defense has built their identity on is – I mean, you remember the year the Niners had 2 interceptions and all they did was address the defensive line and then the interceptions went up. That's kind of the idea I'm thinking of. So I think if the Niners, they don't have to get to Dak Prescott. As long as they force him to make mistakes, this could be a long day for him.
Yeah, I think that Dak is that guy that they want to push and they want to make him great. You see it on ESPN. Not that I really watch ESPN much anymore, but when I do, it seems like they pick a couple of quarterbacks, and it could just be because he's the Cowboy quarterback because you know how much they love America's team. But I feel like he's one of those guys that they want to be great, and he feels the pressure. I feel like he puts pressure on himself to be great and push the ball. They want to call him a gunslinger. I don't think it's a gunslinger mentality. I think that he just feels pressure to make a play but I think he's a dink and dunker at heart. But when he pressures him, puts the pressure on himself to make those big plays, that's when he gets into trouble. And last night's game was probably the best situation that could have happened to him because there was no pressure at all. Like the Tampa Bay's offense was non-existent. They couldn't run the ball. Brady wasn't having a good day for many reasons, not just because he's 45. And it just came down to, it's easy when you're basically doing a walkthrough all game. If Tampa Bay had taken advantage of some of those times when Dallas didn't get points, it might have been a different it might have been a different game. And you might have seen some turnovers, because I feel like that's when you put pressure. And what is the 49ers' biggest strength right now is their unrelenting offense, and just score. Whether it's a touchdown or a field goal, they're going to score.
Yeah.
They're going to get down the field. They're going to get some kind of points. But you saw it in the last game against the Seahawks. Every quarter they scored. There was never a lull of offense. Yeah, they might not get every single drive, but odds are they're gonna get points, and you're going to have to keep up. So there's gonna be that pressure right away for him to keep up. And I think that but to answer my own question of, do I think he's better? I don't think he's better. I still see the same Dak that's been there since I've seen him come in the league. They just try to put more responsibility on him, and I don't feel he's that type of